This podcast will bring light to Hmong-owned businesses so that as consumers, we are confident to give them our business. And as businesses, we become a reliable and trustworthy source to our community. Now, in addition, this podcast serves as a platform to build awareness for Hmong entrepreneurs and businesses while being able to connect with Hmong people all over the world. Now, I see this as an amazing way to grow our Hmong community together and advance into the next era, where Hmong communities are supporting Hmong businesses and Hmong businesses are giving back to their community. Now, I'm excited to share with you the heartbeat of Hmong entrepreneurs, where I connect with Hmong businesses all over to learn more about who they are, what's their business, and how we can give them our support. But most importantly, it's about what makes their heart beat. So these are the people who are trailblazing the way in the world of business as a Hmong person, and this is how we can support each other in a growing and evolving community. As a wise man once said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So let's get rocking. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Heartbeat of Hmong Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Josh, and joining us today is someone pretty interesting. Her name is Maui Vane, and she might be from the Hawaii Islands, but I guess we'll find out. But something awesome and kind of cool that I found interesting about her is that she's a financial advisor turned dance studio owner. So I'm super excited to hear about that. So welcome to the Heartbeat of Hmong Entrepreneurs. Maui, how are you doing today?
Hi there. Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell us about who you are.
Well, I live in Asheville, North Carolina. It's not quite like in a Hmong community, but it's not too far. I think Hickory is the closest one. There's a Hmong community there. There's some in Charlotte, so we're not like, on an island. And I haven't actually been to Maui. It's on the bucket list. So one of these days we'll get to go.
What? You definitely would have to go to Maui. And I can't say I've been there too as well. So, but
I've heard good things. Yeah. And people ask me quite a bit. And um, yeah, I guess I have a pretty interesting twisting and turning kind of background professionally. My parents are small business owners. Grew up in Minneapolis. That's where I lived until I was 18. And then I got married and moved down to the South. And I've been here for almost 20 years. So I guess I'm more of a Southerner than I am a Midwesterner now, and no intentions of moving back up there, but my whole family still lives in the Twin Cities. So we come up once a year to see them. And I try to sort of like stay up to date with what's happening in the Hmong community, but it's interesting not living in a robust Hmong community and try to finding my own path. And I've dabbled in a few things. I did freelance writing back in the day, which I really loved to write. So I did that for a while, and then went back to school to become a financial advisor. And I love the field of finance, and I really got my feet wet. But what I sort of noticed being in that field was that it wasn't the best way to serve people that were just like me and you. That's why I got into the field, was to help the everyday American. And for my values in particular, I wanted to help first generation, what I call wealth builders. And so that was my whole goal, was to find a way to really empower essentially people who for the first time are going to college, working, building wealth, and trying to build that generational wealth so that over time it can kind of help close the wealth gap. So that was my goal initially going into finance. What I quickly found was that there wasn't an existing business model, if you will, that allowed financial advisors to work with Main Street Americans profitably. So there's like nonprofits who do that work, and they help, boost financial literacy. They teach classes, but to have like a one-on-one advisor, kind of like a doctor that you would go and see, there was just not a really good model for that. And I tried really hard. So I actually took a detour into like a sub realm of finance called fintech. So fintech stands for financial technology. And I kind of figured that technology sort of levels the playing field for many things. And I thought, including finance. And so I was actually very focused on building a fintech company. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a tech co-founder, but I did the whole thing. Like I went through all kinds of business incubators. I went to all around the state of North Carolina pitching my idea, looking for investors, co-founders. I did like, different coaching programs. And I still really love that world, but I don't code and I don't have um, like deep pockets to like hire, software engineers. And so I kind of took a break from that. And right before COVID, joined an advisory firm out of Orlando. And I actually learned a lot working for that firm. But after a few years, I just still couldn't quite find that answer that I was looking for of how to offer financial advice affordably. And so when a turn of events came up for me to open a dance studio, I mean, it was never really part of my ambition, but I really did start getting into the world of dance, just going to dance fitness classes, Zumba, hip hop, all kinds of different instructors, different gyms. And I just really loved how dance brings people of all backgrounds together. It's a really joyful, like activity. I've never seen anybody like mad when they're dancing, but also it's very empowering. And I just thought, it'd be nice to do something that is independent because the gyms where a lot of instructors teach, they're pretty strict. Um, they essentially have a lot of infrastructure that prevents instructors from really being financially successful long term. So I'm not much of a dancer. I don't teach anything, but I kind of took my business background and applied it to this world of owning and managing a dance studio. And the goal is to eventually scale it. And we can talk about, what that looks like more, but it's been a fun project. It's definitely a big deviation from finance. It's been open for a year and a half, and it's really been, hitting a growth curve. So super excited to be on this journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Okay, now you said that you're from Asheville. Is this where the studio is?
Yes, the studio is based in Asheville. Yeah.
When you first got started there, what were your like type of clientele out there?
So I would say when you look at our analytics, they're pretty squarely in the like mid 20s to mid 40s, mostly ladies, but not all our classes are just for ladies, like pretty much anyone can come to any class. Um, because for example, like our Latin dance classes, we have a lot of salsa and bachata classes, and they're very mixed clientele, like all ages, both men and women, and they're very vibrant, dance form. But a lot of our dance fitness classes are primarily ladies. It's actually really cool. Tomorrow, which is March 8th, is International Women's Day. So we're going to throw a big dance party, and we invited a bunch of lady instructors from around the community to come teach. And so some of them are our in-house instructors, and then some are just from other establishments, but they're all coming together to teach and just have a fun dance party and uniting time. So yeah, mostly females. I would say generally people who, I mean, we have so many styles of dance, so it's hard to kind of put everybody into like a broad brushstrokes, but typically, people who have some sort of disposable income, dance is not like food and gas. It's like you don't have to do it to live. But I would say a lot of people come to dance looking for an outlet, maybe they are wanting to, release from being at a desk job all day, or, there's actually a lot of people who come to dance who have mental health, struggles. And it's a great way of therapy. It's a great way of connecting with other people and creating connections in the community and friendships that way. And then it's also an artistic form. So there's a lot of um, just artists, creative artists. They choreograph, they learn choreography, they, create their own dances. So it's kind of like this intersection of different types of people. But I would say the most rewarding thing is that everybody leaves happy. Like it's pretty much the happiest place in Asheville. It's just, and that's actually how we got our name. It's Euphoria is a play on the word euphoria, and just means happy. It was just happy hour, and it's great to be in the business of spreading joy.
Yes, absolutely. I have a background in dance, right? Not like professional dancing, but man, I can totally relate to that because I just love dancing. And yeah, I did a lot more of like hip hop and pop. When I am dancing and there's music and and people around you also dancing, like hanging out. Like that is such a fun time, especially, back in our younger days when we go to the clubs and go out there and just dance and whatnot. You'll have a few dance partners and kind of like you can say battle it out. It was kind of like an ego thing at one point. But eventually it became a point of just like, let's just have some fun. Like it's dancing, we're having a good time. And I could see where it can really be like a stress reliever, like a just to come and just get your mind out of whatever it is that you're dealing with and listen to music and dance. Now, with it being in Asheville, how did you end up in Asheville again?
I actually moved down to North Carolina in
Just
2005.
okay.
Yeah, so that's when I got married, and we lived in Raleigh, so it's, the capital city. It's much bigger. My husband and I both went to NC State, so we were over there. We had corporate jobs, had a house, and in 2011, we actually were asked, we were part of a church there, and there was like a little team that was coming to plant a new church in Asheville, and we're not like in ministry or anything, but they just wanted some families to kind of transplant over here. And it was also part of the motivation was that my husband's family live in Morganton. So Morganton is not quite to Hickory, but still like an hour away from here. But it's
Yes.
being here in Asheville is closer to them than being in Raleigh. So Raleigh is about 3.5 hours from them, whereas Asheville is only an hour from them. And we really just kind of thought about it, mulled over for a while, and decided that, at that time we had our first child, who she was 6 months old, my daughter. And it was like time to be like closer to grandparents. So we decided to come and help plant the church and be near my in-laws, and really didn't think we would stay that long because Asheville, it is a smaller town. And coming from the Twin Cities, I mean, I'm glad I lived in Raleigh first, because it would have been a huge shift and shock, culture shock, going from like a big city like
Yeah.
Minneapolis, all coming to a small town like Asheville. But it's growing. It's in the mountains. It's really beautiful here, and it actually has its own like neat little culture, if you will. It's people here. It's generally kind of hipster, free thinking, sort of unconventional. Also, artistic community. Visual performing arts. A lot of musicians. Really good food, and you might not know this, but we are kind of like craft beer central of the United States.
Did
They
not
literally
know
call it
that.
Beer City, USA. Yeah, we have like so many craft breweries. Like the density of craft breweries here is just amazing. And one of the first ones was Highland Brewing, that started back in the mid 90s, and actually was started by, I think he's Chinese, like an Asian founder. And back in the day, it was very it was like pushing the boundaries to do a craft brewery in the States, like in Ireland and, overseas, they had smaller breweries, but it's just grown and the scene is really popping. So we get a lot of tourism here, actually. We're ranked pretty highly on national places to visit, to tour, of course, go and try, beer. I don't drink personally, I'm gluten-free, but I know a lot of people come here for that. It's a destination.
Yes. Yeah. No, Asheville is amazing. I can like when I go to Asheville, I get reminded of Denver, Colorado, which is
Mhm.
where I spend a lot of my time. And that's where my wife is from too. Yeah, I've been there a lot, and that's exactly the vibe that I get when I get out there. It's really nice, really chill. I didn't realize there were that many breweries out there though. That's crazy. I knew there were breweries out there, but I didn't know it was Brewery Central. And they probably were popping it out like way before all these bigger cities were doing it.
There's literally a brewery school. I think there's like the community college, there's a whole craft brewery
What?
department.
That's
Like
crazy.
you can come and learn how to brew beer. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
they take it seriously. And then there's like every other person has their own like basement brewery, like they're just like have
Right.
tops, going down there. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're growing your own pot down there. You're now brewing down there in your basement.
That's what I hear. I haven't been, so I can't attest to that, but yeah.
What have been some of the biggest challenges for you in your like business journey? Obviously switching over from financial to the dance world.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple layers to it. I would say on the very sort of surface level, it's even though I saw the value in dance, and I did like to go and dance, at the gym or in little mom and pop boutique shops. I really didn't understand the dance world because, we're Hmong and a lot of us didn't grow up dancing. There's also an element of the dance world that is kind of, how do you say it, elitist, like, because dance is a discretionary recreational hobby, if you will. And a lot of people grew up dancing, but that's because their parents had the means to pay. Like it's just all of us were, my parents, they were entrepreneurs, they were very hardworking, and it's like nobody had time for dance, just do well in school and get the good grades and land a professional job and dance, something like dance music. I mean, music was probably even, was more embraced, but it was just this like afterthought, not a central part of our culture, at least not in my upbringing. So I noticed that in the dance world, there were kind of those who knew how to dance, and then there were like there was everyone else, and I was part of the everyone else. And as an adult, it is pretty intimidating to show up to a dance class and not know how to move. And I remember the first couple of years, I was pretty bad. I was just kind of going in opposite directions and not necessarily staying on beat. And but like for people who don't know how to dance and don't have access to affordable, approachable dance classes, they kind of just get shut out from that world, and they don't get to partake and experience all the benefits of dance, all the things that we already talked about. So I just saw this opportunity in the adult clientele market to find a way to offer dance a lot more accessibly. I call it democratizing dance. Just like when I was in finance, I wanted to democratize financial advice. It's the same thing with dance. And so I had to learn the dance world. I had to learn the language, the music, and then the next layer is that it's not just broad dance. It's like all these styles of dance. So we have like world dance, which is belly dance, flamenco, West African dance, Bhangra, Bollywood. Those are in the world dance category. And then you have like all the choreography classes. So they're hip hop, jazz, contemporary, heels, twerking. We have all kinds of choreo classes. They're more hip hop based.
I know
We're
a lot
now
of people
bringing,
who wants to learn twerking, so you've got
you know what? Those classes do well. I'll just say again, remember, they're ladies. And we are bringing on an instructor who is more of a old school hip hop artist. So he's going to be teaching the popping, locking, whacking, voguing. So we're adding that like old school hip hop element. So there's kind of that choreo world. And I get a lot of inspiration, at least in that part of the studio, from big studios like Millennium Dance Complex in LA, Playground, like some of these big name studios. There's one in Atlanta called Excel. I think Excel Dance Studio. They have like world-class talent just come through and teach some awesome packed out classes, and then everybody like does their little video at the end and posts it on Instagram. And I just remember back then just thinking like, wow, how cool would it be and how legit would it be to like have like that kind of talent. And what I noticed is that there's talent everywhere, even if people are just like randomly on the streets. Like there's a lot of talented dancers if you just know, you would just look. So that's like choreo. And then we have the Latin dance, which I mentioned, salsa, bachata. There's other sort of forms like zouk, kazamba, different Latin dance styles. There's swing dancing. And then we have the whole like dance fitness category, the Zumba, hip hop, dance to fit, toning classes. So we have over 40 instructors now, and yeah, about 30 to 40 dance classes a week. So it's not like a small operation. It's like a lot. It's a lot of moving parts.
huge.
So just like learning dance and then learning all these sub categories, they're all these little niches, because they also have their own influencers, their own market demand, own dynamics. So it's like learning multiple languages in the past year and a half. And I'm glad that I'm not an instructor. It kind of keeps me a little bit more objective, and I'm able to like keep that business mindset and keep everything running smoothly. Because if I was too immersed in one of those lanes, it would probably become hard to like offer the same kind of attention to the other styles.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that for sure. So you get to see the whole kind of the bird's eye view of it all, rather than being stuck in one thing. You did say you're demonetizing it, right? How did you term that again?
Oh, democratizing dance.
Democratizing.
Yeah, so the idea of democratizing pretty much anything is you take something that is usually within like a smaller group to control and making it widely accessible to a larger population. And so with dance, there's the elitist dynamic that I was talking about where people grew up dancing, especially ballet. I feel like ballet, people are like very snobby, if you will, for lack of a better term, because it's
Mhm.
very structured, it's very rigid, and you do have to put in years of training to become even decent at ballet. So people, for a good reason, they have their own like, uh, self value out of that. And then they kind of look down on others. But there's also on the instructor side. So this is geeking out on business a little bit more. When I was trying to build a fintech company, I did a lot of research into business models. And what I love about business models is that some of the most awesome innovations of our recent history, this recent era in human history, they're not actually technology innovations. Like technology is awesome and it enables these things to happen, but actually the most like innovative companies that you and I know are business model innovations. So for example, Amazon, right? They were a bookstore without owning any stores, Uber, they transport people to and fro and they own no cars, So it's just like they're actually platforms. They're platforms and a lot of times they are dual-sided platforms. So one clientele is the Uber drivers, so we're going to use that. And other clientele is the actual customers that hire and take those rides. So I see my dance studio as a dual-sided platform. And so on the one hand, I'm providing classes to customers. And I mean, it's been going really well. We have like thousands of customers at this point, and they all take multiple classes. It's great. But the
Wow.
other side of the house is the talent side, and the thing with dance is it's not like a store where you can just stock the shelves and then, it's like a commoditized talent. There is difference, there is style, there is nuance, there's personality differences. So finding the right talent and finding a lot of that good talent to then fill up a whole class calendar, was like that was a whole process to get here to have over 40 instructors. But essentially I'm empowering both sets of clients. I'm empowering instructors because at the end of the day, they don't care to have a studio. They don't care to have to pay bills. They don't care to run like a scheduling system. Like they literally just love to teach. They just want to show up, turn on the music and teach students how to dance, right? So I take care of everything else. And that all they have to do is just do the part that they do best. And because of that, we actually do a 50% revenue share model. So then it incentivizes them to create a great class experience. And it also lowers my overhead where I don't have just a bunch of instructors sitting on staff, not producing. It's, we're both essentially we're partners. And so I don't ever have to go into class to quality control. Nobody ever shows up late. I mean, it's just a very self-sufficient kind of machine with those instructors because they all share directly in the profit. And as their classes grow, they make more. And again, compared to like the gyms or other places where they could teach, some instructors make multiples of what they would be making elsewhere if they continue to grow their classes. And then on the client side, because we put everything under this umbrella and we essentially disperse the overhead across like the tons of instructors and tons of classes, we're able to offer classes pretty price of like pretty affordably. So our drop-ins for dance fitness classes, $12 for the technique classes, $15 to $18. Compared to big cities, the price points are pretty manageable. Like big cities is more like $30 to $40 per class. But anyway, that way we can allow a lot more people access to good dance classes, but we can also allow instructors to really thrive in the realm of teaching so that they don't attrition out because otherwise it's not a lucrative career. And then there's like turnover and the attrition into other more lucrative fields. And then we just don't have good instructors over time. And it just falls in line with the trend of it's hard to monetize art, over the course of human history. And so dance is no different. It's hard to monetize, but I think like I was really intentional about the business model to make it beneficial for everyone involved. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but to
Yeah,
me, it's a really
no,
innovative.
yeah, no, that's amazing. That's very like very intriguing, and I love hearing all about that because that's amazing. Actually, never even thought about it like that as well, and I think that's super brilliant. And I love what you're doing because that makes it super affordable. But I'm trying to decide here, like Asheville's so small. How do you find so many people who are like teachers? Like what?
I think every town has dancers and every town has instructors. I do kind of have a monopoly right now because it
Mhm.
is small and we don't have a lot of dance studios. Honestly, COVID killed a lot of dance studios. So we did have a few more before COVID, but they were not sustainable. But also, I think a lot of studios, well, a lot of them are geared towards children. So we choose not to do children classes because there's plenty of studios servicing that market. And they're very like they're competition based and they're on like tuition basis. It's just a very different dynamic, like different model. But also what we really try to build here is culture. And I think that's actually what it does its own recruiting. Like I have not recruited an instructor in months, but it's not just the revenue earning potential, it's the culture here. And we're actually very intentional. We get inquiries all the time from people who just want to rent the studio to teach. And we're like, no, we do not rent the studio for some annual person to just come in here and teach a class because it doesn't feed into our culture. And I didn't want to operate essentially just like a facilities rental. I wanted to create community, create culture, and curate that. And so by doing the revenue share model, I'm able to be more intentional about what kind of instructors we bring on, if they fit with the culture. But then also, it's not a transactional, it doesn't feel so transactional. It's not like, Susan's students came, took her class, they all leave, then the next instructor come and, with them all being under this umbrella brand and we providing all the amenities and all the infrastructure, they do feel like they're part of a team. And I think that camaraderie is also something that's probably sorely missing in essentially any freelance world, but in the dance instructor world, I do notice most of them are freelancers. They are like independent contractors, and it's kind of a lonely road. So what we also offer is like they plug into a team. When they're sick, someone can sub for them. We help promote them. I spend a lot of my time and energy on social media marketing, newsletters, just like getting schedules out. And that way, again, it just kind of minimizes what they have to do to ramp up their classes. And so with that, I'm not having to recruit. Like the word is just on the street now that if you want to teach dance, you go to Euphoria, like we're the best
That's
place in
amazing.
town.
Yes, that is amazing. I love what you're doing. You're really building that culture of like dance, and that's really what dance is, and you can't put a price on finding like real passionate teachers. And what your business model and it sounds like is like they love it there. They love to come to teach, they love to leave, they don't want to deal with all the stuff. And you're able to like create an environment for those type of people to come in, and it works both for you and for them equally as well. And it sounds amazing. Wow. Oh my gosh, I definitely love to learn more and hear more. I definitely got to bring you back on again, probably one of these sessions. But since we're running out of time, you got your merchandise, right? Share with us what it looks like.
It's just I actually created this logo. It's just a hoodie, but
Yep.
the brand is Euphoria Dance Fitness.
All
And
right.
um interesting fact, hora means hour in Spanish. So we didn't plan it this way, but it's like up hour, like happy hour. And
Yeah,
we do
that's
have a
cool.
decent amount of Spanish speaking clientele, but yeah, that's our merch. If anybody wants to find us, at Euphoria Dance is our studio handle on Instagram and Facebook. EuphoriaDance.com is our website. And one really interesting thought that I'll leave you with. I recently heard about I think there are some Hmong dancers who teach heels, like Hmong dance instructor who teach heels in the Twin Cities. And the famous singer Panya Shang went to that heels class and I follow her. So when I saw that, I went to that instructor and I DM'd her and I told her what I was doing and she was blown away. And so I think there may be opportunities to collab with her and bring her down and then maybe reach out to like the Hmong community that's in Hickory and just, it's a lady specific class, heels dance is very empowering. But I do think that if I can find a way to, continue to spread this outside of just Asheville, but, even into the Hmong community, I would love to do so. So just stay tuned.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear more about that and definitely share it in the group. You know what group. Can't wait to hear more about that. Maui, thank you so much for being here. It was such an amazing time just to spend and listen to you and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with us as well. You got any other last things to say?
I think you can be a professional in any realm. That was one thing that I didn't get to go into, but making this transition from finance, which is a very acceptable career path, especially in the Asian and Hmong community, to like owning a dance studio. I mean, some people are just like, did I just give up on life? But you just got to keep trucking, keep being consistent, keep showing up day in and day out. And, maybe people don't know how things look under the hood, but there's an opportunity to build vibrant, life-giving community pretty much in any realm, any profession. And so I think we're in a day and age in society now that it's more welcomed and acceptable than ever before to be very creative, and to create very empowering businesses that offer jobs, that lift people up, that really make an impact in community in like really unexpected places like dance. So I would just encourage all the listeners to not be boxed into the professional lanes. There's a lot of possibilities out there.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Maui. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thank you to all our listeners. I hope you love this episode. This is Maui Vang with Euphoria. All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care now and then
Talk to
see
you
you in the next
soon.
one. Now, before I let you go, I just want to thank all my listeners, my guests, future and past, for being here on our channel. Thank you so much. Now, if you love what I'm doing, for the cost of a cup of coffee per month, your support will help me continue on this mission to connect with Hmong entrepreneurs all over. Now, it also helped me to maintain this channel, the software, and equipment that's needed to make this the best possible experience for you who are my listeners. Now, your support can be canceled at any time, so don't worry about that. But yeah, thank you so much for your support and being a listener, and I hope that you will join me on my next episode. This podcast is sponsored by Marketing Executions, a digital marketing agency for local businesses. You can find out more at www.marketingexecutions.com. Again, my name is Josh. This is the heartbeat of Hmong entrepreneurs.